Okay, picture this just for a second. Millions of people, like this huge river of vibrant saffron color, all moving together.
Mhm.
They're walking barefoot, some of them for hundreds and hundreds of miles, carrying this sacred water on their shoulders. It's this really profound spiritual journey that just completely takes over the roads across North India every year.
Yeah, it's an incredible sight.
We are talking, of course, about the Kanwar Yatra. It's this annual pilgrimage, this immense show of devotion to Lord Shiva. It's kind of hard to describe easily.
Absolutely. And our mission today for this deep dive is really to get under the skin of this amazing undertaking. We're going to look into its, ancient roots, explore all the intricate rituals involved,
That's
uncover the deep spiritual meaning behind it, and also just try and grasp the sheer scale of it all, the logistics needed to support literally millions of people.
And we're drawing all this from the latest source material we have on the 2025 Kanwar Yatra, right?
Exactly, straight from the sources.
So as we go through this, we're hoping to figure out what really makes this, well, spiritual marathon tick. And for you listening, what can you learn from such a huge display of faith and discipline and community? So let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so at its most basic level, maybe for someone who hasn't heard much about this before, what's the core idea? What's driving the Kanwar Yatra?
Yeah, good question. Because really at its heart, the Kanwar Yatra is, well, it's one of the most sacred, most vibrant annual spiritual journeys for devotees of Lord Shiva. We call them Kanwaryas.
Kanwaryas, okay.
And it's more than just, walking. It's seen as this profound act of spiritual surrender, of deep discipline, and bhakti, that intense personal devotion.
Right.
It really brings together millions of Hindus across India during this special Hindu month called Shravan.
Yeah.
Some's called Sawan.
Yeah.
And we actually have the dates for 2025 already. Shravan month kicks off on July 11th. That's a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it runs through until August 9th, which is a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole Kanwar Yatra period is basically July 11th to August 9th, 2025. That's right. A full month of just continuous movement and devotion across huge areas.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see the absolute peak, the biggest crowds, around Sawan Shivratri,
Okay.
which will look like it'll be August 6th in 2025.
Yeah.
And also the last 5 days of Shravan, that's when the numbers really swell.
So try and get this picture. Millions of these Kanwaryas, often walking with no shoes on, just filling the highways.
Yeah.
And they're constantly chanting powerful phrases like Bol Bam and Har Har Mahadev.
You hear it everywhere.
And they're all dressed in that very specific saffron-colored clothing, each one carrying a decorated bamboo pole, a kanwar, slung over their shoulders. It's such an iconic image, isn't it?
It really is unforgettable.
Yeah.
But to really get the scale and the passion of this modern pilgrimage, we kind of need to dig into its history, its mythology. It's not something new. Its roots go way back into ancient Hindu tradition.
So what's the story there? What's the sort of foundational myth that started it all?
Well, the common belief, the story most people tell, is that the very first Kanwar Yatra was actually done by Lord Parshuram.
Okay, Parshuram.
Yeah, he was a major devotee of Shiva and also revered as the sixth incarnation of Lord Vishnu.
Right.
And the legend says he carried holy water from the Ganges all the way from Haridwar to offer it on the shivling, the symbol of Shiva, at a place called Pura Mahadev.
Wow. Okay.
And this act, which was just pure devotion, it sort of grew over time into this huge spiritual tradition we see now. It symbolizes purity, penance, and just rock-solid faith.
And the water itself, the Ganges water or Ganga Jal. Why is offering that so important? It seems absolutely central.
Well, it absolutely is.
Yeah.
The significance of offering Ganga Jal to Lord Shiva is explained in a lot of detail in the ancient Hindu texts, the Puranas,
Yeah.
especially the Shiva Purana.
Ah, okay. The Puranas.
Yeah, these huge collections of stories about Hindu gods and traditions.
Mm-hmm.
And in them, this act, offering the water, is shown as a way to achieve moksha.
Moksha, liberation.
Exactly. Liberation from the cycle of birth and death. And also to receive, massive divine blessings. But deep down, offering the Ganga Jal isn't just a ritual act. It's really a spiritual practice. It's meant to help strip away your ego, cleanse yourself, and ultimately kind of align your own will with the divine will. It's like a physical path towards inner freedom.
That's fascinating. So we've got the history, the why. How does this incredible journey actually happen in practice? What are the key steps, the rituals a Kanwarya goes through?
Well, the pilgrimage really kicks off with fetching the holy water.
Yeah.
Mostly Ganga Jal from these revered river spots. And these aren't just random places. They're like spiritual hubs. Haridwar, Varanasi.
Big ones.
Huge ones. Each with its own deep history as a starting point for millions. But there are others too, like Gamukh, Gangotri, Sultanganj down to Bihar, and Prayagraj, which used to be Allahabad.
Okay. And once they've collected this water, carried it all that way,
Yeah.
where does it end up? What are the main destinations? And what's the feeling, the significance when they finally offer it?
Right, so the water travels sometimes hundreds of miles to these really revered temples across North India.
Yeah.
And these places just become charged with this incredible spiritual energy during Shravan.
I can imagine.
Major destinations include Badrinath Dam in Deoghar, that's in Uttarakhand, Kashi Vishwanath in Varanasi. This one of the most sacred Jyotirlingas, these ancient Shiva temples.
Ah, right, Jyotirlingas.
Yeah, also Nilkanth Mahadev near Rishikesh, Pura Mahadev in Bagpat, and honestly, countless local Shiva temples everywhere across the region.
So it's not just the big famous ones.
Not at all. Local temples are hugely important too. And the act of offering the water during Shravan, which is seen as Lord Shiva's favorite month, it's not just symbolic. It's believed to bring immense punya, or spiritual merit, and divine blessings. But maybe more deeply, it represents detaching from worldly comforts, cleansing the ego, like we said, surrendering to the divine.
It also sounds like people often undertake this journey with very specific hopes or prayers in mind. Is that common?
Oh, absolutely. Very often it's done as a manad, basically a vow or a wish fulfillment ritual.
Yeah.
People make a promise to do the yatra if they receive a specific blessing, maybe for healing from illness or for having children or finding a spouse, success in their work, or even just for deeper spiritual growth. The journey itself becomes this really powerful, earnest prayer.
That makes sense. It's a huge commitment. And I'm thinking about the physical side of it. Are there different ways people actually do the trek? Different styles, maybe?
Yes, definitely. The way people travel varies a lot, and it often shows different levels of discipline and commitment. You have something called Kanwar.
Kanwar.
Yeah, that's the fastest way. The devotee basically doesn't stop walking or running until they reach the temple. Often it's done in relays, with groups helping each other.
Wow, running.
Running or jogging, yeah.
Yeah.
Then there's Kanwar. For this one, the devotee walks the whole way, but the rule is the Kanwar, the pole with the water, can never touch the ground.
Never. How do they manage that?
It has to be constantly held or suspended, maybe passed carefully between hands, or rested on special stands when they absolutely have to stop briefly. It's incredibly demanding.
I bet.
And then the most common way is probably Jula Kanwar. That's where the Kanwar is carried on the shoulders using a kind of balancing sling, the typical image you see.
Okay, the standard practice.
Right. But regardless of the mode, walking barefoot is really common. And all along the routes, you just hear this constant chanting, Bam, Bam, Ho, Om Namah Shivaya. It fills the air.
It's hard to even imagine millions of people on the move like that. How do they manage? Is there a support system in place?
Oh, absolutely crucial. There's this extensive network of shivirs.
Shivirs.
Yeah, they're basically camps or resting places. Often they're large temporary shelters set up all along the main routes. And they're run by countless volunteers, charities, local community.
It's amazing.
It really is. They offer free food, water, basic medical help, a place to rest, totally free for the pilgrims. It really embodies that spirit of seva, of community service. Now, something that's really striking about the Kanwar Yatra, something we need to understand, is that it's not just about the physical effort. It's governed by this incredibly strict spiritual discipline. There are definite rules and a code of conduct, they call it niyam, that devotees follow. It makes the whole thing a complete spiritual practice.
Ah, okay. So it's not just about getting from A to B. It's about how you do the journey. The integrity of it matters.
Yeah.
So what are some of these key rules, the do's and don'ts?
Exactly. The discipline really covers everything. The do's focus on things like staying pure mind, body, and speech, practicing celibacy, and always telling the truth during the yatra.
Okay.
Sleeping on the ground, avoiding any kind of luxury, eating only vegetarian and specifically sattvic food.
Satvik, what does that mean?
Sattvic food is basically food considered pure, fresh, light things that are supposed to promote clarity of mind, like fruits, vegetables, milk, things like that. Not heavy or overly processed. And also bathing is important, especially before starting again, if you've had to stop for, nature's call.
Right. And the don'ts, what's strictly forbidden?
The don'ts are just as strict. Absolutely no intoxicants. That means no alcohol, no tobacco, not even gutka, which is that common chewing tobacco mix, strictly prohibited.
Wow. Okay. Very clear.
Very. And like we mentioned with Gadi Kanwar, the Kanwar itself must never touch the ground. It always has to be kept elevated, supported somehow. Also, no leather items, belts, wallets, shoes, obviously, none of that.
No leather, all.
None. And devotees shouldn't pass the Kanwar over other people or walk under things with it. And finally, a big emphasis on behavior. No fighting, no arguing, no disrespecting anyone, whether it's fellow pilgrims or local people along the way.
And they take these rules really seriously.
Extremely seriously. The belief is that if you break any of these rules, it basically invalidates the spiritual benefit, the punya, of the entire pilgrimage. So, yeah, the commitment to the niyam is huge.
That really does elevate it beyond just a physical trek. It's a whole way of being for that period. So once the journey actually starts, what are the main rituals you'd see along the way, and then when they finally reach the destination?
Yeah, the journey itself is filled with rituals. Even before starting, many people perform sankalp.
So,
It's like taking a formal vow, a pledge to complete the yatra with full devotion, often followed by kalash puja, which is worshipping the pot they'll use to carry the Gangajal. Some might also fast for a day or do special prayers at home before leaving.
okay, setting the intention.
Exactly. Then during the journey, there's the Jal Sankalan, the act of collecting the holy water itself, done with reverence and sealing the pot. And as they walk, you have continuous bhajans and kirtans,
Devotional songs.
right? Singing devotional songs the whole way. And you also see these amazing bandaras.
Bandaras. Community meals.
Yes. Community kitchens, basically, often set up by volunteers, where huge amounts of food are prepared and served freely to all the Kanwaris. It shows incredible solidarity.
That's wonderful. And then the final destination. What happens when they arrive?
The absolute main event is the Abhishekam.
Abhishekam.
That's the sacred bathing of the Shivling, with the Gangajal they've carried all that way. It's
Yeah.
the culmination. They also make offerings, things like bilva patra, datura flowers, bay leaves, items considered sacred to Shiva.
Right.
And in many temples, especially the big ones, they'll perform Maha Arti, a grand prayer ceremony with lamps, and Rudra, another powerful form of ritual worship for Shiva. It becomes a huge celebration.
You mentioned some key places earlier.
Yokath Mahadev
Yeah.
near Rishikesh is just massive, a huge convergence point.
Yeah.
And Baba Baidyanath Dham in Diogar sees literally hundreds of thousands, lakhs of offerings. And places like Delhi, Ghaziabad, Meerut, Muzaffarnagar, the roads there just become rivers of orange during the yatra season. You also get special events organized, things like Shiv Bharat processions, recitations of Rudra Path, and Bhajan Sandhyas, evening concerts of devotional music. The whole atmosphere is just electric.
It really is amazing how an ancient pilgrimage on this kind of scale manages to thrive in the modern world.
Right.
How do governments and communities actually support such a massive event year after year? It must be a huge logistical challenge.
Oh, it's a colossal undertaking. And it really shows how important the event is nationally. For 2025, governments, especially Uttar Pradesh under the Yogi government, have planned really extensive support.
Like what sort of things?
Well, think about health and safety first. They're talking about medical checkup points every 200 meters along major routes, dedicated ambulance services ready to go.
Every 200 meters. That's incredible.
It is. And they're also focusing on the environment. It's been declared a zero plastic event in UP, with big daily cleaning drives planned, plus things like water tanks, RO stations for pure water, making sure there are street lights, CCTV cameras everywhere for security,
Wow.
all monitored from command control centers. Mobile toilets, smart traffic management systems to try and keep things flowing, health camps, even mosquito fogging. It's a huge operation.
That sounds like an immense public works project just for this period.
It really is.
Right.
And it's not just UP, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Delhi, Haryana. They all put significant resources into safety, medical support, and logistics too. But it's not just government. Volunteer groups, local NGOs, religious organizations, they all pitch in massively. It becomes this truly collaborative effort.
One thing that really stands out is how inclusive it seems. Who actually takes part? Are there any restrictions?
That's a really beautiful part of it, actually. Anyone can participate. Doesn't matter what your age is, your caste, your gender. Anyone can do it.
Really? Anyone?
Yes. You see children walking with their families. You see women. You see elderly devotees, although obviously older people or those with health issues are advised to be careful, take precautions.
Sure, makes sense.
And it's not just people from India. We even see international devotees, NRIs, sometimes taking part in organized groups or just join in.
That's quite something. And is there like a dress code or things people need to bring?
Yeah, the visual's pretty standard. Saffron-colored clothes are the norm, often with headbands that say Bol Bam or other slogans. And the key equipment, of course, is the Kanwar stick itself, with the vessels for the water, usually made of copper, brass, or sometimes sturdy plastic now.
Okay.
And essentials for the journey would be things like a basic first aid kit any personal medicines, maybe a raincoat depending on the monsoon season, definitely a water bottle to refill, some fruits, dry snacks, things to keep them going on that long walk. So when you look at it all, the Kanwar Yatra is just so much more than a test of physical endurance, isn't it? It's really a sacred mission aiming for, well, spiritual growth, a deeper connection.
Yeah, what strikes me, what's really profound, I think, is seeing how this tradition with such deep roots doesn't just survive in the modern world, it actually thrives. It adapts, it blends these ancient, deeply held practices with, frankly, incredible levels of modern organization and support.
Mm.
It really makes you think about the power of collective belief, of shared faith, and just human endurance, doesn't it?
It really does. In a world that feels increasingly complex, full of distractions, maybe this path, this journey, reminds people of something simpler, of
Hmm.
devotion, of surrender. Perhaps as you think about these millions walking, chanting Bam Bam Whole, maybe they aren't just walking towards a physical temple. Maybe they're also walking towards the divine that's already within themselves. Something to think about.